You're watching UnrealEntGaming. This is Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. You want to see me turn Super Saiyan? Or should I take it to the next level? I'm also the narrator, too. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, make sure and smash subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Broly is without a doubt one of the most popular and polarizing characters in all of anime, with his previous stardom in the Dragon Ball Z movies all the way to his reintroduction and debut in Dragon Ball Super. Broly is without a question one of the most popular characters to ever grace Dragon Ball. However, what if I told you that in an alternate timeline, Dragon Ball Z's Broly faced off against Dragon Ball Super's? This is Young Gigi's DBS Dragon Ball fan manga, where right now we are going to be diving into a brand new story which showcases the ultimate battle between two Brolys from two different universes. As once more before we begin, if you are new to this channel and have a love and passion for all things Dragon Ball and anime related, then be sure to smash that subscribe button on this channel and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload, along with giving this video a big thumbs up by slapping that like button down below if you guys love Dragon Ball and anime, as well as checking out the official Dragon Ball fan mangas playlist located down in the description box below, to where on that playlist you guys will be able to find all the latest and best Dragon Ball fan mangas created by the community for the community. So be sure to head on down below, check out the official Dragon Ball fan mangas playlist for all the best and latest videos on Dragon Ball fan mangas. As we kick off Young Gigi's Beyond Dragon Ball Super BVS Part 3 Old Broly vs New Broly manga chapter special, with Goku having to ask Vegeta if in fact he knows anything about the Metamories fusion, as Goku went along to ask Vegeta, "Hey Vegeta, do you know the fusion dance?" As Vegeta went along to respond, "Fusion? Don't be absurd, I'd never fuse with you again." As Goku went along to respond, "Will you really be okay when your beloved Bulma dies?" As Vegeta went along to respond, "Don't embarrass me like that." Because the opening acts of this manga chapter special actually brings us along during the events of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, as only then we get to see how Goku and Vegeta finally fuse. As Gogeta went along to respond, "Now it'll be really good if I could come up with a cool name. This time, Gogeta." As just like we've seen in the movie, we get to see how Gogeta uses instant transmission to go to Broly's location, as only from there he uses Super Saiyan Blue for the first time against an ever so increasingly powerful Broly, as we get to see Broly actually transition from his normal Super Saiyan state into full-powered Super Saiyan, in which I will say Young Gigi's overall portrayal and level of detail behind drawing this manga is incredible. If anything, one of the absolute best artists within the Dragon Ball community thus far, as elsewhere in a different dimension, we get to observe how Broly comes across the Z Fighters for the first time, as Dragon Ball Z's Broly acknowledges Kakarot for the first time face to face, as Broly then goes on to chant Kakarot, with Paragus having to tell Broly, "No, stop it Broly, don't increase your power any more than that. I said stop it Broly, calm down." As of course we know, this doesn't calm Broly down at all, because in this timeline we get to see how the urban legend of the once forgotten legendary Super Saiyan actually comes true, with Broly having to transform into his legendary form, as Vegeta kneels down and stating, "We'll die, we'll all be killed. He's the Saiyan of legend. He's the legendary Super Saiyan." But of course this doesn't stop Trunks, Gohan, and Goku from powering up, as of course we get to observe how Dragon Ball Z's Broly goes on ahead to utterly decimate everybody, which actually include Trunks, Gohan, and Goku, as Broly goes along to state, "It's rising," with Goku having to reply, "You're really strong," basically mimicking the exact events from the movie, as Broly then goes on to comment, "My power is rising, it's overflowing," as he then goes on ahead to raise his power level up even more. From there, we get to see how the Dragon Ball Super variation of Broly actually comes across and battles against Gogeta, as Gogeta then puts his hands together for a massive Kamehameha, with Gogeta chanting Kamehameha. Hame, and just like in the movie, we get to see how Gogeta fires a massive Kamehameha towards Broly's direction, and as of course he does so, Cheelai goes on ahead to use the Dragon Balls to save Broly and crying out, "Broly, please return him to his home planet Vampa!" And just like we've seen in the movie, Broly then returns to planet Vampa, as by the end, Cheelai goes on to tell Goku, "I'll tell you right now that we're your enemies. We're not just going to be your friends." As of course we get to see Broly recovered, Cheelai and Lemmo seem to be trying to devise somewhat of a plan to allow Broly to live freely and better than before. As Goku went along to comment, "That's okay, I just want to fight Broly again." As Cheelai goes on to ask, "What's your name?" with Goku then having to reply, "Son Goku. And Broly, you can call me Kakarot." As just like we've seen by the end of Dragon Ball Super Broly, Goku uses instant transmission and immediately teleports himself back to Earth, as Cheelai goes on to comment, "He's gone. What kind of technique did that guy just use?" As Broly comments, "Kakarot, until we meet again." But then there is a disturbance. It would appear that there is an unexpected crack within space-time itself, and this crack appeared out of nowhere. With Broly having to quickly take notice of this, he went along to tell Cheelai, "Cheelai, Lemmo, it's dangerous!" Because on the other side, it would appear that Dragon Ball Super's Broly is beginning to detect a massive unknown power coming from that direction, as out of nowhere, Dragon Ball Z's Broly suddenly then emerges in unleashing a massive energy blast right down towards their direction, to where it causes the Dragon Ball Super Broly to quickly leap into action, grab onto Lemmo and Cheelai, and transfer them to a safer location, as of course Dragon Ball Z's Broly proceeded to absolutely level the landscape around them. And as Broly holds on to Cheelai and Lemmo from the sky, observing down below, they went along to ask, Who is that?" As for the first time, we then have the Dragon Ball Super Broly meet Dragon Ball Z's Broly parallel to their dimensions for the first time. And as Dragon Ball Z's Broly appears to have this sinister, sadistic, and chaotic expression on his face, seemingly bloodlustful, he then went along to cry out, "Kakarot!" before dashing right towards Broly's direction, as of course Super's Broly goes on ahead to toss Cheelai and Lemmo out of the way, as we then get to have the first ever exchange between legendary Super Saiyan Broly and base Broly on planet Vampa. As only then we get to see the exchange between good Broly and evil Broly, as of course it would appear that base Broly is trying to do everything in his ability to get the upper hand against his Z counterpart, but in this version of Young Gigi's adaptation of Dragon Ball Z Broly, it would appear that Dragon Ball Z's version of Broly in this manga has seemingly unlimited power, as he only continues to increase in power rather than decrease, with the fight eventually progressing with Dragon Ball Z Broly having to have the edge over base Broly. Only then we get to see how good Broly staggers back, as he then stares on at Dragon Ball Z's Broly until moments later we finally get to see how Broly goes from base straight into his Ikari transformation, which we've all seen compete against Super Saiyan God before. And with Cheelai seeing this, she goes on to cry out, This is bad. No, not like this, Broly. Don't you remember your promise?" And with Broly then having to finally transform, he slowly then turns around in acknowledging Cheelai by telling her, "Cheelai, get away and stay down." So it would appear that this version of Ikari Broly is actually cognitive enough, because he is able to speak, and speak in full sentences, as only then we get to bear witness to Ikari Broly and legendary Super Saiyan Broly both go charging towards each other, which I will say is absolutely absurd when thinking about the concept of the Dragon Ball Z movie Broly versus the Dragon Ball Super incarnation of what we've seen Broly do against Goku and Vegeta, especially with his Ikari transformation against a standard legendary Super Saiyan, is absurd. But I love the overall concept of this engagement, because it would seem as if Ikari Broly has the power to push legendary Super Saiyan Broly back a bit, and as they finally collide with evil Broly having to block off good Broly's attacks, there is a massive shockwave sent all throughout planet Vampa, as of course we get to see the exchange between evil Broly and good Broly, as it would appear that Ikari Broly does have the upper hand, because as Dragon Ball Z Broly goes on to throw a left jab, Ikari Broly quickly dodges by then having to kick Evil Broly, as of course Evil Broly quickly moves back. Ikari Broly then connects with a thunderous left hook, to in which we get to see how as the fight progresses, Ikari Broly seems to have the upper hand by also punching Evil Broly directly in the stomach, to where we get to see how Evil Broly is in fact now beginning to break a sweat, with Ikari Broly then having to charge up for a massive energy attack. With him doing so, I love the overall depiction of the way this fight's going down, because the minute we get to see Ikari Broly fire off this attack, it actually connects with Dragon Ball Z Broly, but of course from there, we get to slowly see how Ikari Broly is waiting just to see what happened to the counterpart that was of the legendary power that Broly possessed from the Dragon Ball Z realm. But weirdly enough, this attack from Ikari Broly didn't do anything to Dragon Ball Z Broly, because through the dust and through the smoke, Dragon Ball Z Broly comes charging on in as he attempts to once again punch Ikari Broly in the face, but with Ikari Broly having to be quick enough to move out of the way, it would appear that Evil Broly now is starting to pick up the speed, as he also seems to be getting angrier and angrier as this fight's progressing. But Ikari isn't taking shit from anybody, because what Ikari Broly ends up doing is punching Dragon Ball Z Broly directly in the ribs again, followed by quickly having to maneuver his way around by kicking Evil Broly in the jaw, then followed by charging directly at him. But this is where things begin to kind of turn around for Dragon Ball Z Broly, because as soon as Ikari Broly rushes on in, he throws a left hook only for Dragon Ball Z Broly to duck, as of course now they're beginning to exchange punches. With Dragon Ball Z Broly trying to hang on to this fight as much as he could, Ikari Broly simply unleashes more power, to where it simply proves to be too much for Dragon Ball Z Broly, as once again Ikari Broly ends up clocking Dragon Ball Z Broly directly in the face, followed by quickly having to teleport up in the air behind him and then hammer striking Dragon Ball Z Broly directly down onto the ground. So for the first round, it would appear that Ikari Broly seems to have the upper hand because of his strength, because of his experience, and the fact that he seems to have the upper hand slightly only because the other Broly is allowing his rage to get the better of him. But as soon as Evil Broly hits the ground, out of nowhere we get to see how through the dust, Evil Broly is slowly starting to stand back up again, and he's grunting. He seems to be infuriated, he seems to be getting even angrier than before. As Ikari Broly looks down, he's really trying to figure out as to what exactly is going on, but before he could do so, out of nowhere, the Dragon Ball Z version of Broly powers up to such a state to where it rocks all of planet Vampa to its very core, with a massive shockwave coming from Dragon Ball Z Broly's power-up. And I really love the way Young GG drew this, because with Ikari Broly having to look down in absolute shock, he also seems to be trying to maintain himself up in the sky, because the force of Broly powering up is literally blowing everything away. With Cheelai and Lemo having to ask, what is this guy? Why is he so angry? More importantly, he looks just like Broly, not knowing the fact that indeed, this is Broly, except this would have been what Broly would have ended up being if the movies were canon to the show. And with Broly having to raise his power up so much so, he quickly then charges back up in the sky directly at Ikari Broly, with Ikari Broly looking down in absolute shock, because now Ikari Broly's trying to brace himself for the inevitable, as only from there, Evil Broly comes in with a thunderous left hook, followed by a mean kick to the jaw, to where there we get to see how slowly but surely Dragon Ball Z Broly is starting to pick up the pace in overpowering the good Broly based on his increase in power just a few moments ago. And with Dragon Ball Z Broly having to send Dragon Ball Super Broly flying out in the distance, I love how Dragon Ball Z Broly is continuously chasing him, and no matter where he goes, Dragon Ball Z Broly is continuously dishing out shot after shot after shot, which eventually causes Ikari Broly to hit the ground with such force, as only then Cheelai is beginning to worry as she cries out, Broly! With Dragon Ball Z's Broly having to cry out, I can feel my power. overflowing. So just as we've seen be done in Dragon Ball Z with Broly's power having to overflow, the exact same thing is happening here with Dragon Ball Z Broly now having to have the upper hand. But through the smoke, as we get to see Ikari Broly stand up, he goes on to comment, "This energy, his power keeps growing more and more. What a guy you are." As the narration goes on to tell us, the old Broly has the power and traits of the legendary Super Saiyan. His power increases at a steady rate and isn't bound by limits, causing him to have to overload in its bursts. The stronger his enemy is, the more his energy increases and the stronger he becomes. So, young Gigi incorporated a factor, a trait for this version of Broly in the fact that there is no limiter, there's no cap to what this version of Dragon Ball Z Broly can do, and the more powerful opponents he fights, the stronger this version of Broly becomes. As only then the narration continues, on the other hand, new Broly's potential is very much unknown, as he was able to hold his own in a battle against Goku and his friends because of his enormous power. Both Broly's limits are still unknown, therefore at this stage of the battle, no one can predict the outcome. As only then Ikari Broly looks on in absolute shock, we then get to see how once again Dragon Ball Z Broly charges on in, with Ikari Broly having to be taken back. He is once again then having to be on the receiving end of a beatdown, but Ikari Broly is trying to do everything he could to block, but Dragon Ball Z Broly simply overpowers him by punching him in the face. But Ikari Broly still isn't taking any shit from Dragon Ball Z Broly, because from there he goes on to retaliate with a punch of his own by then having to punch Dragon Ball Z Broly in the face. So then young Gigi goes on to display a very good shot of both legendary Super Saiyan Broly and Ikari Broly having to charge at one another, until only then we get to see how both of their elbows collide. And I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's say if this scenario actually played off in the manga or in the actual anime, then who do you guys have? Are you guys for Team Dragon Ball Z Broly, or are you guys for Team Dragon Ball Super Broly? Because the way this fight's going down so far, it would appear that legendary Super Saiyan Broly is either on par with Ikari Broly or simply slightly above him, just based on the pacing alone. And as they collide in creating yet another massive shockwave, Lemo and Cheelai go on to comment, if this battle continues, if Broly continues fighting, he will be forced to use that form again. As Cheelai replies, "It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay because Broly promised us. We have to believe in Broly, Lemo." So it would appear that Broly had promised Lemo and Cheelai that he will not be using his Super Saiyan power because he knows how dangerous this could be, but maybe going forward, good Broly may not have a choice. As Dragon Ball Z Broly comes swooping on in with another ferocious punch to Ikari Broly's face, I love the way Ikari Broly is seemingly enough losing to an ever so growing, ever so more powerful version of Dragon Ball Z Broly, who seems to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger as Dragon Ball Z Broly delivers a massive punch to Ikari Broly's stomach. We then see how Ikari Broly is visibly in pain right before Dragon Ball Z Broly hammer strikes Ikari Broly down onto the ground, causing him to hit the ground beneath him with such force that it literally once again creates another massive shockwave. As Cheelai goes on to cry out, "Nah, Broly! Hey, Broly is really starting to be pushed to his limits. Just how long can his body hold up?" And with Ikari Broly visibly then having to be shown slowly standing up, Dragon Ball Z Broly then proceeds to stick his hand out and telling his counterpart, "I'll end it now." And I love the way evil Broly wastes no time in unleashing this massive energy attack right down at Ikari Broly. As Ikari Broly looks up, he has no other choice than to take this blast head on, because if he doesn't, planet Vampa is potentially going to be destroyed. And with Broly having to be shown holding this attack back, it's not easy. And even Ikari Broly is visibly shown having to struggle because He's trying to do everything in his ability to hold this blast back because he knows that he has too much to lose and he's not willing to risk it just in this one moment for this blast to hit the ground. So from there, the blast then completely overcomes him as of course a massive explosion is then seen, with Dragon Ball Z Broly having to be shown visibly in the sky, just awaiting to see the end result of the battle. Cheelai goes on to cry out, "Broly!" As the evil version of Broly looks on, suddenly he is then alarmed as he then spots Ikari Broly rising from the ground, huffing, puffing, tired, visibly having to be exhausted. Dragon Ball Z Broly then goes on ahead to look on, grinning in the fact that he knows that he has the upper hand, but then out of nowhere, Cheelai comes swooping in right in between them as both Broly seem to be caught off guard by what's going on. Cheelai then goes on to tell Dragon Ball Z Broly, "Hey you, what are you doing here? I don't understand at all. Please stop fighting like this. Who are you? What did you come here for?" And with Cheelai pleading and wanting to get answers as to why this version of Broly is here, Ikari Broly goes on to comment, "Cheelai, it's too dangerous out here. I told you to keep away." As Cheelai replies, "I don't care. I just can't stand around and watch while you die, Broly. I'll kill you. I'll ask you, please, let's stop." But the Dragon Ball Z Broly counterpart shows no remorse, because from there, he goes on to once again grin, raises his hand slowly up in the sky. As Ikari Broly is then quickly alarmed, Dragon Ball Z Broly then goes on to tell Cheelai, "Die." As moments later, just within the blink of an eye, Dragon Ball Z Broly ends up blasting Cheelai right through the stomach, killing her right in front of Ikari Broly's eyes. And with Broly having to look on and crying out for Cheelai, this is a moment where the only other person that ever gave a damn about Broly just ended up dying right before his eyes again. First his father on Earth by the hands of Frieza, and now directly in front of him by the hands of himself from another dimension. And with Broly having to look on and crying out for Cheelai, luckily enough Lamo is there to catch the body, as he is also visibly alarmed by having to cry out Cheelai, as this was the trigger, this was the moment that Ikari Broly began to lose his mind, as we get to see how he's beginning to struggle. Tears are flowing down his face, as the only other person that Broly ever gave a damn about is now dead. He is then beginning to break through and completely lose his mind as he goes on to say to himself, Cheelai, which, to add insult to injury, as Dragon Ball Z Broly is getting closer to Ikari Broly, the only thing he's doing following Cheelai's death is laughing in the face of the Dragon Ball Super Broly and having to comment in a very condescending and sadistic way, but this is what broke Ikari Broly, because from there, Ikari Broly ends up powering up so much so that this has to be visually one of my absolute favorite manga panels of all time, because we get to see how not only do his muscles increase, his pupils get blown out, but we also get to feel the rage, the sorrow, the pain, the anger, everything just flowing from Broly, as of course he loses his mind and then he begins to transform, pushing Dragon Ball Z Broly back ever so much with the force of Broly's transformation. Dragon Ball Z Broly then looks on in absolute shock as he then bears witness to full-powered Super Saiyan Broly through the dust, through the debris, in what has to be one of my absolute favorite manga shots of all time. We then get to see full-power Super Saiyan Broly in all of his glory, the electricity, the aura, the tears flowing down his face. It would appear that this version of Broly now is not only out to kill and having to get revenge for what the other Broly did, but I love how Dragon Ball Super's version of Broly is shown having to grunt, having to groan. As the other Broly looks on, Dragon Ball Super Broly goes on to tell him, "You bastard, I'll kill you." As the narration goes on to tell us, after the appearance of old Broly, his terrible power overwhelmed that of new Broly and pushed him into this dreaded form. A battle that transcends time and space has begun. who will survive this epic battle, as Dragon Ball Z Broly is shown smiling, with Dragon Ball Super Broly having to be shown extremely angry. The manga chapter special then comes to a close. Now, this has to be without question one of my all-time top 10 fan mangas within the Dragon Ball community, only because we get to see a different perspective as to what would happen if the past met the future and vice versa, in the idea that even though realistically it doesn't make any sense to have Broly actually fight himself from a different version of Dragon Ball, having Dragon Ball Z versus Dragon Ball Super, only because the Dragon Ball Super versions are considerably more powerful than the Dragon Ball Z counterpart versions. But what I also appreciate and really love about Young Gigi's work is the fact that everything about this fight was absolutely detailed to the T, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next, because there were a few leaks that were presented that also included a Super Saiyan 3 concept, a Super Saiyan 4 concept, a Super Saiyan God concept, and with that I won't go too in depth with who gets what in this particular case, but I have to give a huge shout out and thank you to one of my good friends, Jester, over on Discord. You guys can go on ahead and follow Jester's Dragon Ball fan manga community located down in the description box below. But in the end, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Which Broly do you guys think is going to emerge the winner? Do you guys think that Dragon Ball Z Broly is going to overtake Dragon Ball Super's Broly, or vice versa? Thank you all so much for watching again. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, then be sure to give this video a big thumbs up by slapping that like button down below. If of course you guys are new to the channel, then don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload. Tune back in for the next video, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up, on? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Frieza.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!
But once you get video, lots of likes, or Bill will turn you into chocolate!
Vados, get over here! Tell these mortals that I'm the biggest UnrealEntGaming fan. This is my moment. I'm a part of his notification squad. Universe 7 can have all the fun. I just want the food.
And don't forget to leave a comment on this video. Show some love for the best community on YouTube.
Kakarot!